This is certification of the closed meeting, Resolution 22-67.
Yes, pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3712.b, the supervisors signing below certify that, to the best of each supervisor's knowledge, one, only public business matters exempted from open meeting requirements under the Freedom of Information Act, and two, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed meeting of the Greensville County Board of Supervisors. Roll call vote.
Mrs. A. Strout?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Conlon?
Aye. Please join me in standing with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation, and I'll ask Pastor Woodley to offer our invocation after the pledge.
Under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. Let us bow our heads. Father God, we thank you right now for this blessing and opportunity to be able to stand here tonight and to say thank you. Thank you for the strength to come together. Thank you for the scripture that says, in the multitude of counsel there is safety. We ask that you join our hearts together. Make us one in you, one in unity. We pray for all that are assembled here tonight. We lift up our government officials. Cover them as only you can. Let us represent you well. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Woodley.
Next, we have the approval of the agenda, and I recommend that we add item number 12F. 12F, if you would add that. And it's the adoption of resolution authorizing payment of $165,206 to the city of Emporia for use by the city to fund a portion of public school capital improvement costs for fiscal year 2022.
I move we approve agenda with added item.
Second.
Motion's been made and properly second. All those in favor signify on the roll call vote.
Mrs. A. Strout?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Conlon?
Aye.
Next, under item number 7, is the approval of the minutes. Minutes of December 8, 2021 is attachment 8, and minutes of January 4th, 2022, which is attachment B.
And warrants.
You want to do them simultaneously? Okay. So, and B, budget matters. That's attachment C, and it's budget amendment resolutions 22-68 through 22-78, and C, the warrants, which is attachment D, and that's the approval of accounts payable for January 18, 2022, in the amount of $307,707.39, and approval of accounts payable for February 7th, 2022, in the amount of $203,644.91, and approval of payroll for January 2022 in the amount of $537,302.11.
I move we approve consent agenda.
Second.
Motion's been made and properly second. All those in favor signify on the roll call vote.
Mrs. A. Strout?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Conlon?
Aye.
Right. Item 8, we have no public hearings. Number 9, no items with appointment. And we have 5 citizens that signed up for citizen comments. And first, we'll have Ray George. It says Ray, and last name is George. Oh, I'm sorry.
My name is Ray George, 746 Purdy Road, and I came up, usually when they sign the proclamation for Black History Month, some of us NAACP members come up behind the signing, and that's what I came up to request that we could do that. I was hoping the paper would have been here to capture it, but I have my phone, maybe somebody will take a picture for me. But that was why I came up. And I want to also invite you to see the display at the Richardson Moore Library that's there for Black History Month.
Thank you, Ms. George.
Next, I think this is M. Jordan. Jordan?
Was shocked, but then again was kind of surprised at you all taking on the decision or making the decision for one business meeting a month. One meeting a month. Went from two, now we're gonna do it one. I know most businesses now that they're busy, they've been struggling. Businesses have had shortcomings, issues, and problems. I know this county's got shortcomings, issues, and problems. How in the world will we decide now is the time to cut those meetings back? We're gonna meet one time a month instead of two? I know I'm speaking, and half of you blocked me out, but I'm gonna speak, I'm gonna say it. I'm sure I won't get a response tonight, but I sure would, if there's any kind of forum where we can sit down, and I've said this before, and I know you're tired of hearing it, but I'm gonna say it again. I want to talk to you. I want to listen to you. Because when I stand up here, as Mr. Sladen's always pointed out, it's at the will of the board to allow people such as myself to speak with no interaction between the two. But I'd like a little interaction. I'd like to have since you've got a night that's available, why can't we schedule to come back here and we all sit in these chairs? You get out of that chair and you get in one of these chairs out here like I'm sitting in, and let's talk. I want to hear what you're thinking. I want to hear your justification. And if you address this before I leave here tonight, great. If not, I'll be looking for each and every one of you to have a one-on-one discussion if possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Slade.
Michael Ray.
Hey, good evening. My name is Mike Gray, 583 Scotland Drive, Jarrett, Virginia. And first, I want to discuss the meeting that was scheduled prior to this meeting. I guess that was the first meeting of the year. It was inclement weather, and we can't control the weather, and I think this meeting was postponed. And then on the 4th of January, I saw it on the webpage that that meeting was held the following Tuesday night. I didn't see it in time. I don't think a lot of people saw it in time. I wasn't here, but I'm going to guess there was probably no one from the public or very few people from the public in that January meeting. But we made decisions in January, and when I say we, I mean the voice of the citizens of Greensville County. You made decisions in January to put a new chairman in place, which I understand is pretty standard for what you do. But you also made the decision to go from 2 meetings a month to one meeting a month. And I understand public service. I understand what you do, and I'll go ahead and say it. I know how little you're paid or compensated for what you do. I don't think any one of the 4 of you sitting there are doing what you do for the money. But the perception is that you take yourself from 2 meetings a month to 1 meeting a month. There's a good argument that we should cut your pay in half. Although I know you're not paid for sitting in this meeting. I know you're paid for what you do day to day. But I also remember many conversations and individual conversations, and we talked about transparency. And we want to do, well, I don't think cutting from 2 meetings a month to 1 meeting a month helps transparency. I think it gives the absolute opposite effect. It makes it look like that you are hiding half of what you do, or either half of what you did before wasn't important enough to do. If someone wanted to naysay, you just open the door wide open for that. And I would say that I'm sure you can still get business done, but you would have to convince me otherwise that it's not going to cause the staff at Greensville County 100 different phone calls, to you board members to ask you to make a decision sometime in between 30 days between meetings when they're used to 15 days between meetings. And I could be wrong. You may have that worked out. But I just think it was a bad way to do business to have that meeting with those bigger decisions being made. And if I'm pretty sure that I'm correct, that one of the 4 board members wasn't even able to be here at that meeting. So you had 3 board members and probably no public because no one was invited. I think it's just a bad way to do business. The second thing I wanted to bring up, and I said I wasn't, but I am, the county, I know y'all have been on and off again with cleaning for COVID, and I think that's great. You all know what I do day to day, so that's a great idea, but you were closing on some Fridays. And then it was brought to my attention that on those Fridays, and if I'm wrong, somebody please tell me that I've been informed wrong, but when an employee was off on Friday, they still got paid for 8 hours. So that means of a 40-hour work week, the employees are working 32, getting paid for 40. And just doing some rough calculations, knowing that the sheriff's department probably didn't get those Mondays off, the jail people, other staff, people didn't get that time off. But rough estimate, I'm saying every Friday that you closed to clean, you were paying, give or take, $10,000 of taxpayer money to pay employees to work that weren't working. You do that for 10 Fridays, that's $100,000. And again, I could be wrong, but the perception is they were paid to not work. It would have been real easy to do Monday through Thursday, 10-hour days. That would have been 40 hours. And I don't even think that the general public, certainly no one sitting in this crowd in any meeting that was ever made clear, hey, we're going to pay the employees to be off on Fridays, and they're not making up those 8 hours. And if I were an employee of the county, I'd be mad at Mike Ray for messing up my Friday, but it's my money. It's my money you're paying those employees with. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ray.
Reverend Valley Woodley? Okay, no problem. So that concludes citizen comments. Old business, there's no old business. We're down to new business. Black History Month resolution. It's in your packet under item number E. And we have Mr. Willie Gillis and Colonel Bobby Claiborne to give comments.
I want to read the resolution first.
Okay. Whereas the month of February has been set aside as a time to recognize accomplishments by African Americans, and whereas 2 natives of Southside Virginia, the late Dr. Charles Drew and Dr. Carter G. Woodson, and many others were instrumental in initiating scholarly studies of Black history and other historical endeavors. And whereas the late Garland P. Faison was the first African American to hold elected office in Greensville County, first as Justice of the Peace and then as a member of the Board of Supervisors for 20 years, where he was dedicated to improving conditions in the county for all citizens. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Greensville County Board of Supervisors does hereby recognize February 2022 as Black History Month in Greensville County. Be it further resolved that the Board of Supervisors encourages all Greensville County residents to actively pursue information that will enlighten them on the many valuable accomplishments to Greensville County by African Americans.
Thank you.
Want to make a move on it?
I move we approve Resolution 22-79.
Second.
Motion's been made and properly second to adopt Resolution 22-79. All those in favor signify in a roll call vote.
Mrs. Ashcroft?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Conwell?
Aye. At this time, we'd like to ask Mr. Willie Gillis and Mr. Colonel Bobby Claiborne to come forward and make their presentation.
I will set my clock so I can adhere to the designated time by Brother Kay. Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Willie Hardin Gillis Jr., and I am a proud resident of Emporia, Greensville, born and raised in Washington Park, where I attended grade school, elementary, and high school here in Emporia, Virginia. I'm here to say I don't have a sad story to tell about my upbringing because I was brought up in a great home. A loving mother, a loving father, 3 brothers, 2 sisters. I was raised up on Easter Street, where I had a caring community, friends, relatives, as I see some of them out in the audience right now. I was fortunate to have a wonderful and an awesome childhood, elementary school, junior high, and high school here in Emporia, Greensville. I had supportive people like Sterling Smith, Curtis Lee, Margaret Lee, who supported me throughout my life here in Emporia, Virginia. Therefore, I was fortunate enough to be afforded an opportunity to attend Norfolk State University on a football scholarship. Prior to going to Norfolk State, we were fortunate enough in Greensville County to come up in a system in which I played all sports. I had a very challenging time. This is one story. I was the first African American to be put on a Little League All-Star team. At 11 years old, I felt that I was the best player on the All-Star team. 11, 12-year-old, I was never put on that team. I was crying by a dugout one evening, and this is to change my reflection on sports. I was crying by the dugout because I did not get on that team, and not one African American was on that team. One of my coaches, Aubrey Temple, stayed beside me, and he cried too, because he knew that was wrong. I pitched 6 games. I won 5 of those games. In 2 games, no one got on base. I was left off of that All-Star team. I cried. Aubrey Temple cried with me. And he said, "Never again, Willie, will I allow this to happen." That changed my life in athletics because I said to myself, never again will I allow this to happen because I will aspire to be the best that I can be. So from there on, I left that opportunity, and I went to junior high and high school where I was successful in every sport. I played football, basketball, baseball, and ran track. Went to high school. School was not very important to me at that time. I went to high school because I wanted to do 2 things. I wanted to go to lunch, I wanted to go to practice. My books were not important at that time for me. It was not competitive. It was not challenging. My challenging situation was when I got to football practice, when I got to basketball practice. I received all kinds of accolades in sports. University of Tennessee, University of North Carolina, they came in, they looked at my script, and then they looked away and the coach said, "You got anybody else?" He fits the bill athletically, but he doesn't have the grades. The great Billy Hayes, William Dick Price showed up on my doorstep, and they offered me a scholarship to Norfolk State University. I played there. I was a starter. As a true freshman, I started after my 3rd game as a true freshman. I never came out. We won a successful championship there at Norfolk State University, where my junior year, I was named the #1 quarterback in statistics in the country. And I led that team to a CIAA championship. On the other hand, the complexion of my life changed in the classroom because it was competitive. My freshman year, the young lady saw a football player in the room and said, "He's not going to pass." That was a challenging situation for me. I was a kinesiology major. I came out of high school with a 1.8, but I finished Norfolk State with a 3.6 and an honor student because it was challenging, because I did not want to be last, just like I did not want to be left out by that dugout that evening. So academics became important to me. I thrived in that area. I graduated Norfolk State, and lo and behold, something happened that I never thought would happen. I had an opportunity to go to the National Football League. But it didn't happen right away because I fractured the navicular on my throwing hand the third game of my senior season. I was put in a cast for 7 weeks, and I said, I can't miss this season. Kept me in a cast for 7 weeks, cut it off on Friday, play on Saturday, 8 weeks in a row with a fractured arm. I played every game, never missed one game. Where I left Green Bay, got released, and I went to the Canadian Football League. In 3 years, we were Grey Cup champions. I was so happy about that. After that, I came back and became a coach. I became a head coach at my alma mater at Norfolk State University. Also, with Elizabeth City State, went back to the Canadian Football League as a quarterback coach and offensive coordinator with the CFL. I was blessed in my athletic career to have 5 championship rings. 5 championship rings. Then I went into my coaching career. I won a state championship at Surrey County High School, where they had not had a state championship or a division playoff championship ever. In 4 years, they were state champion. So it's just been a blessing to see a young boy come from Washington Park, have that opportunity, and now to be the founder of Washington Park Association and raising and helping kids in this community. Again, I thank you for this opportunity. I thank you for having me. I thank you for what you guys are doing in Greensville County, Virginia. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gillis.
Good evening, good afternoon. I just want to say that it's a pleasure to be here today. I want to say that when I was asked to come, I wasn't hesitant about coming. I was hesitant about what I was going to say. And I will tell you that, and I'm proud of my family, very proud of my family. And I will tell you that as I was growing up, as I was leaving Emporia, going to Norfolk State, how did we know Willie and I was going to end up at the same university? Only God's will. But to say that once I got to Norfolk State, I started excelling about little kids that don't believe they can do certain things, but they can. Mr. Thomas Hill helped me. Mr. Edwards can tell you, we were all in the Boy Scouts together. So those types of things built character in us. We used to march up and down in Easter Street, march up and down in Emporia, marching like we were soldiers. So what I'm saying is, what you do and what we do for these young children, we're never gonna know the impact if you're doing something positive. As I said, the reason why Willie and I are back here now, trying to help us continue to get people to think like you. I'm gonna say it like that. Because you are successful. Everyone in here is successful. But if we don't reach back and talk to these little boys and girls and continue to try to get them to be successful, we will have what we're having now, people shooting each other, people not caring about each other. Over in Hopewell last week, a 17-year-old boy killed another 17-year-old boy, and then he goes into a hotel and shoots himself. I'm just saying to you, Black History Month is important. We're all in this together. And you never know the possibilities and the opportunities that a young boy or girl can get if you give them an opportunity. And I thank you so much, and I hope I didn't run over my time.
I'd like to take the opportunity to thank Mr. Gillis and Mr. Claiborne for the presentations and for what they're doing in the community. And also, Mr. Claiborne, thank you for your service to the country.
Next, we have performance agreement among Greensville County the Industrial Development Authority, the Greensville County Water and Sewer Authority, and PW Foods LLC. And Natalie Slate, the Director of Economic Development, will give that report.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
Attached in your agenda is the performance agreement. This is a new commercial development that will go at Exit 4, and performance agreements are signed between the incentive-giving parties and the client. So the client has agreed to invest a minimum of $2 million and create 40 jobs. And the county and the Water and Sewer Authority, along with the Industrial Development Authority, will waive building permit fees, a percentage of water and sewer tap fees, and give economic incentive grants for 5 years based on 50% of the real estate real estate tax. This is always good news for development and jobs to come to the county. It is a commercial development, it is a restaurant. PW Foods, they haven't announced it, but they said the words out anyway, so I'll tell you, it is a Bojangles that will be down at the Skipper's exit. So staff ask if there are no questions to authorize the performance agreement.
Are there any questions or discussion? If not, is there a motion?
I move we approve the performance agreement, which is attachment E in our books.
F, attachment F.
I'm sorry, F.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and properly second. All those in favor signify in a roll call vote.
Mrs. A. Scruggs?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Conway?
Aye.
And next we have the Virginia Business Ready Site Program Grant Award. More good news.
Lord, good. I like when I bring good news.
Yeah.
$7 million was given in grants through the Virginia Business Ready Sites program. There were 11 recipients of this money. It's a discretionary program that develops and characterizes sites to enhance the Commonwealth's infrastructure and promote its competitive business environment. This is a long way of saying they're trying to build more sites within the state that are 100 acres or larger. And I am very excited.
Under Section 12, Southside Community Corrections and Pretrial Services Funding Request, Mrs. Yolanda Hines, and our Commonwealth's Attorney.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We are here this evening to, as you know, for a funding request. Southside Community Corrections provides supervision to defendants in the 6th District, which encompasses Brunswick, Greensville, Sussex, and the city of Emporia. Some of the updates over the last year is our check-in system that we utilize to when clients come into the office. E-court date software is a program that texts the defendants to remind them about office appointments and court dates. During the pandemic, we had no reduction in services. Our last quarterly report in September 2021, for pretrial, we had a public safety rate of 100%. As you know, I've been to the meeting before to discuss our geostatus GPS device. We actually assisted state police in the apprehension of a suspect that lived in our community by use of that device. And most recently, we were approved by the Virginia Supreme Court to establish a drug court in this area, which will serve Greensville County, Sussex County, and Brunswick County. Some of the services that we offer, and I'm not going to go all through it, but these are some of the services that we offer at Southside Community Corrections. Many of them we created since I've been the director. I'm trying to get through this, I'm sorry. This is our community service hours that we have given back to the community, and if you look at it, you can see for 2021, even during the pandemic, we increased our community service hours when other agencies were shutting down community service. Some of the things that have changed over the last 20 years has been the cost of maintaining qualified staff, the cost of drug tests, services being requested from the community has increased, our caseloads have increased, largely due to some of the legislative changes that have taken place. As far as pretrial, it costs us about $4.17 per day to have someone on pretrial. It costs the jail about $88.31 per day, according to the Commonwealth of Virginia Compensation Board. At our September meeting, the CCJB board instructed me to come to all of the governing bodies to request local funding to support a fourth to July is $3,609.33. So that is the amount of money that I'm requesting for this last two quarters, excuse me. If you have any questions.
So this is $3,000 to last until July, when we do, the new budget goes in effect?
Correct.
Okay.
I'm Patricia Watson, Commonwealth's attorney, and I'm here as director for the board of SCC also. And I would just like to echo what's been said. I don't think you know how good it has been to have Ms. Hines and that organization step up lately, especially during the pandemic. It has allowed us viable options, both pre-trial, to allow those out on bond that we think can get out on bond with a reasonable service from SCC to make sure they are where they are and are doing what they're supposed to be doing. It also allows us options and alternatives after trial, after a person's been convicted. If we think they will do better out of jail, we just need the right process and the right procedure to direct them, and that's what she is. She has opened up so many options as far as the programming is concerned, and it helps the defendant clearly, but it also helps the community in both in having community service work and in helping the defendant, and it helps the victims, because a lot of these people are related somehow, or that, you know, that it's spousal or family and things. And so when you're offering them things like anger management, substance abuse counseling, and those items, it clearly is going to help the victim too, because it's helping the defendant resolve what his issues are. And so it allows us to concentrate on those that we need to keep in jail and give the opportunity to those that we hope will be able to get out. And it's a win-win, because it's good for everybody, because it's so much cheaper. They're more than making up for what they're asking for. And I just wanted to point that out, just as working with it on a day-to-day basis. I think the other jurisdictions have all agreed, except for maybe Sussex. There's some more paperwork that needs to be filled out. But what they are doing is tremendous, given the jurisdiction that they cover and the number of courts that they cover. We're in court every day of the week, except for Friday. So I don't know how they make it on the people that they have, but they are doing it, and doing it well. And I would add in and encourage y'all to support them with this request. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion?
No, I don't have any questions. I just want to thank you both for the work that you all do in the community every day.
I've been in several meetings before. I would definitely support this, and I think anything we can do to help any citizen, I'm all for it.
So motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and properly second. All those in favor signify in a roll call vote.
Mrs. Ashcroft?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Conwell?
Aye. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Next, we're down to boards and commissions. First is the Board of Zoning Appeals. Mr. Barry Ray's term expires February 28, 2022, and Mr. Ray has agreed to be recommended to serve another term.
Is there a motion?
I move we keep Mr. Ray on the Board of Zoning and Appeals.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and properly second. All those in favor signify with a roll call vote.
Mrs. Ashcroft?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Conwell?
Aye.
Next is the Emergency Food and Shelter Program. That term expires February 28, 2022. And Gary Cyphers, I recommend that he serves on that board.
I have a question. If we're replacing him with an emergency person, would it be wise to put that person there that would be serving in that capacity?
And that's fine, and he's here, Mr. Lynn Parker, so that'll be a great recommendation.
I would like to nominate Lynn Park.
Second.
Motion's been made and second that Mr. Parker serve in this capacity. All those in favor signify on a roll call vote.
Mrs. A. Strout?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Conwell?
Aye.
And the final appointment is the John Tyler Alcohol Safety Action Program Policy Board. And Mr. Philip Nichols' term also expires on February 28, 2022, and he has agreed to serve another term.
I move we reappoint Mr. Philip Nichols.
Second.
Motion's been made and properly second. All those in favor signify on a roll call vote.
Mrs. A. Strout?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Conwell?
Aye.
Next, item number F, adoption of resolution authorizing the payment of $165,206 to the City of Emporia for use by the city to fund a portion of public school capital improvement costs for fiscal year '22. And
All right, I'll try again. The resolution reads as follows. Whereas the Greensville County Public Schools requested an additional $410,000 for capital expenditures for FY 2021-22. Whereas Greensville County approved its share of the school's request on June 7, 2021, appropriating $244,794 for capital expenditures. Whereas the City of Emporia did not act to approve the public schools request for its portion, $165,206 of the requested capital expenditures. Whereas there are several financial disputes between Greensville County and the City of Emporia. Whereas Greensville County may be obligated to the city for an amount due to the city under the Second Amendment to a January 7, 2003 school agreement, amount due as of July 1, 2018, Greensville County and the City of Emporia have not been able to resolve this matter because of funding disputes between the county and city. Whereas the city has requested that the county release $165,206 of the disputed funds for the city to use to pay its portion of the public schools capital expenditures for FY 21-22. It is accordingly hereby resolved by the Brunswick County Board of Supervisors as follows. The Board of Supervisors authorizes and directs the Treasurer of Greensville County to release $165,206 of the disputed funds to the City of Emporia and to pay that amount to the City of Emporia. 2, the $165,206 shall be applied as a credit against the $542,905 potentially due to the City of Emporia pursuant to the 2018 Second Amendment to the January 7, 2003 contract.
I'd just like to clarify, the resolution states Greensville County, not Brunswick County, as stated by Mr.
Did I say Brunswick? I'm sorry.
Is there a motion for resolution 22-80?
I move we approve resolution 22-80.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and properly second. All those in favor signify on a roll call vote.
Mrs. A. Strout?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Conwell?
Aye. If there's no other business, is there a motion to adjourn?
Before we go to the motion to adjourn, I know I've had a lot of phone calls from constituents about our mail service here in Congressman McKeachin's office as they are taking complaints for the county and the city. Please reach out to them. They're making constant trips down here to investigate everything that you're sending in. They can't handle it if they don't know about it. please make sure that you are reporting everything to Congressman McEachin's office, as it is a federal matter.
And also, I spoke with his office today, and we are highly encouraging you. The more people we can get, whether through a petition, if you can just get in documentation, the more we have, the better chance we get. Also, in talking to his office, they've already spoke to the young lady's boss that's in the post office here, and also we've talked to the state postmaster over the whole state of Virginia, trying to resolve this situation. I've gone to like about the last 4 or 5 days, I haven't seen any mail. And every time I go to the post office, I'm seeing folks from other jurisdictions. So they're bringing in folks that don't even know our county. So it's been very difficult when they come in and they put mail in. Y'all may be like me. I've been getting somebody else's mail in my mailbox whenever I do get some mail. So I highly encourage you, like Belinda said, if you all can get everybody, just flood Donna McKitchen's office with every complaint you get. That'll better help him out to resolve the situation quicker.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Motion's been made and probably second. All those in favor signify on a roll call.
Mrs. Ashcroft?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Conwell?
Aye.
Can I get a motion that we go into open session for water and sewer?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It has been moved and second that we go into open session for water and sewer. All those in favor of the roll call vote?
Mrs. Ashcroft?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Conwell?
Aye.
Can I get a motion for certification of closed meeting?
I move we approve resolution WS 22-12 as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and second that we approve resolution WS 22-12. All those in favor of the roll call vote?
Mrs. Ashcroft?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Conwell?
Aye.
Can I get approval of the agenda? Motion for approval of agenda?
I move we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and second that we approve agenda. All those in favor of the roll call vote?
Mrs. Ashcroft?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Conwell?
Aye.
Can we now get approval for consent agenda to include the approval of the minutes, budgetary matters, warrants?
I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and second that we approve consent agenda. All those in favor of the roll call vote?
Mrs. Ashcroft?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Conwell?
Aye.
We have no public hearing. There are no items with appointments. There is no old business, new business, resolution WS 22-14.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Please look at your attachment D in your agenda package. This is Resolution WS-22-14, the St. John's Pump Station Improvement Contract Award. Project cost of $119,100. Between the budget date of June 8, 2021, and the bid opening date of January 18, 2022, there were factors that affected the bids. Price increases for both materials and labor, inflation, and the contractor's ability to obtain materials. GCWSA received 4 construction bids January 18, 2022. HD Reynolds Company Incorporated submitted the lowest construction bid in the amount of $122,892. In compliance with the adopted policy, GCWSA negotiated with Reynolds regarding price, and Reynolds agreed to reduce his construction bid $4,000 to $118,892, as a result of which the total project budget is $138,336. GCWSA must appropriate $138,336 to fund the project cost, which amount is $19,236 more than the June 8, 2021 engineer's projected budget estimate. BNP Consultants and the Greensville County Water and Sewer Authority staff recommend awarding the project to Reynolds. HD Reynolds has the equipment and expertise to complete this project. Greensville County Water and Sewer Authority staff request the GCWSA Board of Directors adopt Resolution WS 22-14, accepting the negotiated construction bid submitted by HD Reynolds Company Incorporated in the sum of $118,892. And GCWSA appropriate $138,336, which amount is $19,236 more than the June 8, 2021 engineer's projected budget estimate. On February 8, 2022, Greensville County Sewer Authority Staff shall notify abutters of the board's decision to accept the negotiated construction bid submitted by HD Reynolds Company Incorporation and award a construction contract to HD Reynolds Company Incorporation on February 18, 2022. And authorize the GCWSA Director and Assistant Director to execute on behalf of the GCWSA a construction contract with HD Reynolds Company Incorporation, which construction contract shall be drafted by the attorney for the Greensville County Water and Sewer Authority in consultation with the Greensville County Water and Sewer Authority Director and Assistant Director. Are there any questions?
I move that we approve the pumping station improvement resolution WS-22-14.
Second.
It's been moved and second that we approve WS 22-14. All those in favor with a roll call vote?
Mrs. H. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Conwell?
Aye.
Thank you, board members.
Thank you. Next, Resolution 22.
$191 reserve fund. On January 31st, 2022, the Water and Sewer Authority received an amended letter of conditions. That letter of conditions is attached for the construction loan. The certification requirement was removed and replaced with a fully funded $681,691 reserve fund. Staff recommends that GCWSA accept the amended letter of conditions. If you do accept it, it will be resolved that the Board of Directors hereby accepts the amended Rural Development Letter of Conditions dated January 31st, 2022, and you're authorizing the Director to execute the Rural Development Letter of Intent to meet the conditions. If there are no questions, staff recommends you adopt Resolution 22-15.
I move that we approve resolution WS-22-15.
Second.
It's been moved and second that we approve Resolution WS 22-15. All those in favor with a roll call vote?
Mrs. H. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Conwell?
Aye.
Next on agenda is Rural Development Grant Award.
Attachment F in your agenda packet is regarding a grant award from Rural Development. Denise should have handed you out a award letter that we received after the agenda packet went out. So this award is for $30,000, and the funds are to be used to prepare a preliminary engineering report and environmental reports to replace some of the older water lines in the Jarrett part of our water system. So good news.
So as you can tell, we are seeking grant funds for a lot of our projects, and from tonight's meeting, you can see we have been very successful, and we're going to continue this effort so that we can reduce the need to use taxpayer dollars.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
With there being no other business on the agenda, can I get a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and second that we adjourn. All those in favor with a roll call vote?
Mrs. H. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Conwell?